What is up, guys? Wrestling Premier is here. This run was amazing. There was great stories, great matches, great promos, everything. The Legend Killer really brought his A game during this run. As a child, I was like, damn, this guy isn't going to lose the title. Like, he was winning and winning and winning. It seemed like it was never going to end. And that wasn't really a bad thing. This title reign established Orton as a top guy. Before this run, I saw him as the number 4 or number 5 guy on Raw, but after this, he was definitely number 2 or 1 at times. For me to cover this one, I got to go back right where we left off. One Night Stand 2007. If you haven't watched the Rise of Randy Orton video, then you'll either be missing out or you don't give a damn. I cover Orton's feuds with Foley, The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, everything. It's one of my favorite videos due to how detailed it is. With that said, I know you guys have been bombarding the comment section with this video, and here it is. It wasn't like I was not going to make it. I mean, my damn profile picture is a picture of Randy Orton from the age of Orton. Doesn't mean he's my favorite wrestler, but I just chose that one because I like this run. It was one of my favorite runs of the 2000s. Anyways, this is my longest video. I worked so damn hard for this one, and I hope it's a good video. We'll see what you guys have to say in the comment section below, and let's get into it. Now, like I mentioned in the previous video, Randy Orton at this point was transitioning into the Viper. One thing that I noticed during this time is that he stopped doing the pose on the stage. Maybe he stopped doing it previously, I'm not sure, but by 2007, it was gone. On the June 5th, 2007 episode of Raw, Randy Orton decided to kill another legend, the legend of Ric Flair. He destroyed his mentor in that match, proving that he's not the Legend Killer, but the Career Killer. Right after the match, Orton was on the verge of punting Flair, but the ref threatened to reverse the decision if Orton went through with it. Now, Orton had already punted him during the match, so this second kick could have been detrimental to Flair's career. From there, Orton continued to change. He wore black wrist tape instead of white, and for some reason, I seen him as a more vicious individual with this change. It's so small, but for me, I saw him very differently. On the July 2nd, 2007 episode of Raw, Randy Orton asked the American Dream Dusty Rhodes to introduce his son to him. You know, Cody. He said that he's followed in his father's footsteps, and since then, he's been better than his father's ever been. And since Dusty didn't introduce his son to him, Orton decided to introduce himself. He told him, "Legend, you know the rest." Cody asked for the Legend Killer to back off, and Dusty said that this was disrespectful. And what did Orton do? He decided to show Dusty what was actually disrespectful. He slapped the hell out of him, and Cody was going to do something about it. Later that night, Dusty spoke about this incident. He challenged Orton to come out for next week. We don't know why. I believe it's a match. And the following week, the American Dream came out and he demanded respect from the Legend Killer. Dusty called Orton a disrespectful, potty-nosed punk, and he asked Orton if he's just going to stand there and act stupid. Dusty mentioned some of Orton's actions towards legends, and the Legend Killer responded stating that Dusty doesn't deserve respect because he lives in the past. Orton said that he gets respect for the things he accomplished nowadays. He mentioned that he single-handedly ended the careers of RVD and Shawn Michaels, and Dusty demanded Orton's full attention once he said this. He told him that he will gain no respect by punting guys. Legend Killer responded with a challenge: Randy Orton versus Dusty Rhodes at the Great American Bash. Dusty stated that he's in no shape or form to meet Orton at the pay-per-view. So Orton decided, you know what? Let's force him to accept the challenge. He threatened to end Cody's career before it even starts, and this forced the American Dream to accept the match, but on his own terms. He wanted a Texas bull rope match. Orton accepted, and he asked Dusty to tell Cody to bring a broom to clean whatever's left of the American Dream. Out came Cody. Orton told him to get out of this ring before he gets hurt, and he continued standing in the same place until Orton went up to him. He decided to slap the living daylights out of Randy Orton, and look at his reaction. Like, he knew that he was going to destroy him. Orton decided to leave following this encounter. On the final Raw before the Great American Bash, Cody Rhodes was set to make his debut in a matchup against Randy Orton. The match itself, it wasn't exactly an easy one. Sure, he punished Rhodes a bit, and yes, Rhodes was inexperienced, but he showed some potential. Who am I kidding? Rhodes only got some offense in, not much, and it wasn't a hard match for Orton. Right after the match, Orton was looking to punt Cody, but Dusty got in his way, and Orton teased fighting him. He decided, you know what, let's save it for Sunday. Now, that match at the Bash was pleasant for Orton. Dusty had the advantage in the early going, but Orton, however, blasted Rhodes in the knee with the cowbell. He continued to have the upper hand before Rhodes made a comeback. Orton managed to withstand the offense of the American Dream, and he blasted Rhodes with a cowbell to win the match. Right afterwards, the Snake tried going for the punt, but Cody ran down to the ring, and he was looking for a fight. He grabbed that cowbell, and he was like, come on, get in the ring, we'll fight. But Orton didn't. The next night, Orton went up to his opponent, Cody Rhodes. He told Rhodes that he should be afraid because he's going to do things that require serious consequences. Orton did do something that requires serious consequences later that night. He punted Dusty. Before moving on to bigger and better things, Randy Orton destroyed the legend of Sergeant Slaughter. First of all, he beat him in a matchup, and if that wasn't enough, he decided, you know what, let's punt him. Following this, Orton decided to stick around and observe the main event from a distance. Now, the reason why Orton was going to observe the main event was because he had RKO'd Cena the previous week, and the coach announced that the #1 contender at SummerSlam is John Cena. During the match, Orton stood on the ring apron, and Carlito capitalized on a distracted Cena by hitting the backstabber for the victory. Basically, Orton was out there to scout his opponent. Following this, Cena was looking for a fight, so the new general manager, William Regal, booked Cena in a matchup with either Randy Orton or Carlito. Both men managed to convince Regal that they have the perfect opponent for the champ, Umaga. That plan backfired, as by the end of the night, Umaga decided to turn face. He felt disrespected as they kept on slapping him on his chest, and he destroyed both men. They managed to evade his attack, and William Regal came out. He booked Orton and Carlito against John Cena and Umaga for next week. Cena ran straight after Orton, while Umaga ran after Carlito. Why am I mentioning this? Because Umaga as a face is weird. The following week in MSG, Umaga and Cena worked as a tandem duo. Umaga destroyed Orton, and Cena FU'd Carlito, and they emerged victorious. Heading into SummerSlam, Cena was on the receiving end of a RKO on a chair at Saturday night's main event. And the facial expressions of Randy Orton tell the whole story. He was absolutely remorseless. He didn't give a damn who he hurt en route to the WWE Championship. Now, that title match at SummerSlam was special. It's my favorite of all the matches Cena and Randy Orton had, other than the Breaking Point one. And this is one of the only matches where they really clicked, and overall it was really, really entertaining. For years, Orton versus Cena, the dream match. Everyone was waiting for this match to happen, and finally, it's a reality. It felt fresh compared to the others that followed, because it was the first time on pay-per-view they were facing off in a singles match. The crowd made it feel like a party. Both of them played their roles to perfection. Orton was cold-blooded, and it seemed like Cena was still feeling the effects of that RKO from a week earlier. Nonetheless, he bounced back with a sudden FU to retain the title. This was definitely one of my favorite SummerSlam matches. It was so fun. The crowd, the competitors, the story, everything was awesome about it. The following night, Orton stormed into Vince's room, and he demanded another title match. McMahon told him that he doesn't deserve a title match right now, and he told Orton that he should show him that he wants a title match. But until then, it's a no. At the end of the night, Orton did show that he wanted a title match. He attacked Cena, and then he hinted at a punt. As he was on the verge of connecting with the kick, he had a change of heart. Nope, he decided to do something even worse. He went to the outside, and he dragged Cena's father right out of the crowd, and he punted him. Man, 2007 Randy Orton was crazy. Yeah, compared to 2009 Orton, this was barely scraping the surface. Like, it was nothing compared to 2009 Orton. He appeared via satellite the following week, and he blamed Cena for this. He said that if he accepted that rematch, then this would have happened. Regal then booked the match for Unforgiven, and Orton hoped that Cena's father never forgives him, Cena, he's talking about Cena, for what happened the previous week. Right after this, an emotional John Cena came out, and he wasn't in a pleasant mood. Cena approached the Raw GM, and he assaulted him due to this. Seeing as John Cena was dangerous at this point, the coach subbed in Regal's spot, and he banned John Cena from the arena. Obviously, later that night, he made his way down to the ring where he confronted Orton, but security restrained him, and at this point, Cena was hell-bent on kicking Randy Orton's ass. Now, that match at Unforgiven it wasn't even close to the one at SummerSlam, but then again, there was going to be another match. The problem with this one is the fact that this was on pay-per-view, and DQ wins back then were so annoying. I will say, though, that the crowd was into it. Like, I love when a crowd's into a match. It makes it much better than it already is. Anyways, Cena lost his composure, and he got himself disqualified. Orton once again dragged Cena's father into this, but it backfired as John kicked Orton's ass. Now, the funniest part was when Cena's old man kicked Orton. I don't know why, but that was funny. Maybe it's because he was a 50-year-old man with no wrestling experience performing a kick? Something like that. But the way he was contemplating whether or not to kick him and when he went through it was hilarious. Then we find Coach asserting his authority by shouting at a non-wrestler. He's acting all like a tough guy when Cena came up to him, and he was all worried. During this confrontation, the coach booked John Cena and Randy Orton in a last man standing match. Before the two faced off at the pay-per-view, Cena Sr. was booked in a matchup against Randy Orton, and if he backed off, then John stripped of the title. John Cena was handcuffed to the ropes after Orton put him there, and he had to watch his father take a beating. By the time Cena managed to find a way out, the damage was done. At this point, it seemed like this feud was going to end in a war at No Mercy, but that was scrapped right after Cena suffered an injury during his match with Mr. Kennedy. In storyline, this was explained as Orton taking Cena out. Personally, I felt like that match would have been good. These two were very pissed at each other. Cena was really angry. Orton was poised, he was vicious, and he was determined to win the title. The next night on ECW, Vince McMahon announced that Cena's unable to compete and he was stripped of the gold. Do I think Orton was going to win the title at No Mercy? Yes, he had so much momentum at this point and he had the aura of a main eventer around him. At No Mercy, Mr. McMahon crowned Randy Orton the new WWE Champion. I believe this was the first night the title didn't spin. Just looking at it, it didn't spin, right? Watching this moment, it feels weird to see Orton hold a title that he didn't win, but he deserved it nonetheless. Like, he destroyed Cena, and this is his reward. William Regal congratulated Orton, but he notified him that he has to defend the title tonight. And Orton gets to choose his opponent. Y2J chants intensified, and McMahon shouted at them. It was hilarious, like, shut up! Orton said that it's a good thing that Cena can't compete because it saves him the embarrassment of getting beat. Cena chants intensified, and McMahon once again demanded that they show respect to that champ. Orton said that this has been a long time coming, and there's no one more deserving of holding this title. Legend Killer, if you could call him that, continued speaking, and all of a sudden, Triple H came out. He challenged Orton to a title match, seeing as he must defend it, and Triple H chants intensified. Orton shouted no, and Triple H made a joke about Orton's first title reign, and McMahon let the game know that Orton said no. After a few minutes, he managed to convince McMahon to make the match after insulting him, calling him gutless, a coward, spineless, and he told him that he has no balls. He had to call him a shriveled up old man with a tiny set of raisins to get McMahon to make the match. Orton wasn't happy. I mean, why would you? You just won the title and a few minutes later you're defending against the guy who beat you for it in the first place. This was one of the more enjoyable matches between the two. It was good. The crowd was really into it, but the best part was when Orton lost the title. He was like, that's it? I lost the title? First title reign, ended by Triple H. Second title reign, ended by Triple H. I'm not sure what you would think if you were watching live, but that's one thing you'd think of for sure. I remember someone made fun of the fact that Triple H changed his nameplate during the pay-per-view, but hey, at least he gave us this moment with Batista. Right after this, McMahon reminded Triple H that he was booked to face Umaga, and he made the match for the title. Triple H managed to beat Umaga, but he was clearly feeling the effects. Right afterwards, McMahon informed Triple H that Randy Orton has requested his rematch clause, and it will be a last man standing match. That match was spectacular. Orton knew that Triple H is hurt, and he capitalized on that rib injury. He was wise in his quest to win the title, but Triple H wasn't going down without a fight. Despite Orton's efforts, Triple H got up. As a matter of fact, there was one moment that made us think Orton was probably going to lose this one. He managed to recover at the count of 9, and then Triple H tried hitting a pedigree through the announce table, but Orton caught him off guard with an RKO. This barely, and I mean barely, gave Orton the victory. You'd think Orton was reunited with his girl when you see him with the title. Personally, I was really entertained. This pay-per-view brought us a one-night storyline, and overall, I really enjoyed it. If Orton lost the first match by DQ, we wouldn't have gotten that last man standing match, and plus, that main event solidified Orton as the top guy in Cena's place. So overall, it was fun. The next night on Raw, Triple H invoked his rematch clause. I completely forgot about this. McMahon was wise, though, as he decided to book Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. But wait, Umaga is Orton's tag team partner. The two delivered a mugging to the game. He tried fighting back, and initially it was working, but Umaga decided to blast him with a chair to cause the DQ. They continued their assault afterwards, and Triple H was out of it. At the end of the night, Mr. McMahon came out and he demanded that the whole roster come down to the ring and show respect to the new WWE Champion, Randy Orton. I'm just going to say right now, this is one of my favorite segments in Raw history. Orton praised himself, saying that he has the perfect combination of size, speed, strength, and skill. He said that this one-man dynasty has only just begun, and he will be WWE Champion for a long, long time. He asked for the guys to put a smile on their face, shake his hand, and say, "Good luck, Randy." Nope. Say, "Good luck, champ." McMahon then demanded that Triple H come out here and shake Orton's hand, but he was nowhere to be found. He said that he doesn't care if he's on a gurney, they will bring him out there and he's going to shake Orton's hand. He then called for Orton to go to the back and drag Triple H to the ring. As Orton walked up the ramp, Shawn Michaels decided to make his return. HBK is back. As we all know, he certainly has a score to settle with Orton. The champ backed up and he entered the ring. HBK took him down and he delivered a devastating sweet chin music to the champ. And the way Orton sold it, $1,000,000. Heading into Cyber Sunday, Michaels faced Orton on the October 15th episode of Raw. Now at this point, it was very clear that Orton was set to defend the title at the pay-per-view, but we didn't know exactly who he was facing. Mr. Kennedy, Jeff Hardy, or HBK. On paper though, it's obvious who the fans are going to choose. Now I thought these two were going to have a match, but nope. Mr. Kennedy decided to interfere 2 minutes in, and Jeff Hardy ran down there to make the save. Raw ended with Shawn Michaels delivering another sweet chin music, and Orton sold it like $1 million once again. As Cyber Sunday, it was Shawn Michaels who won the vote for the title match. Before the matchup, Orton reminded us of what he did to Michaels in the past. He blamed the fans for making the choice, and HBK has to live with the decision. Now, the match itself was good. HBK tried targeting Orton's elbow, and Orton himself tried going with the headshots because, he injured Michaels previously. But once he seen that HBK was on the verge of capturing the title, he decided, you know what? Let's screw him over. He low-blowed Michaels to cause the DQ. But it wasn't Orton who had the last laugh, though, as Michaels hit a sudden sweet chin music to dim his lights out. It was clear that this wasn't over. The next night on Raw, Shawn Michaels was given his rematch for Survivor Series, but he must not use the sweet chin music. Oh, and if Randy Orton gets himself disqualified, then he loses the title. On the final Raw before Survivor Series, both Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels went face to face. Orton said that he's sick and tired of hearing people say that he intentionally disqualified himself. He claimed that he was defending himself in that moment. Michaels responded to this, stating that for the past several weeks, Orton was on the receiving end of the sweet chin music, and at Survivor Series, he's winning the title. Orton called Michaels a hothead, stating that he's going to get desperate, and his instinct is going to make him hit sweet chin music, which is banned. Michaels said for years, people said if Michaels can hit the kick, then he can win. He didn't know whether or not to think of that as a compliment or a criticism. He said that he's never saw himself as a one-hit wonder. Maybe everything he's accomplished over the last 20 years has been a fluke. Maybe it's all luck. He said that it's a novel story, walking into Survivor Series and winning the championship with a wrestling move or even a submission move. He asked Orton how is it going to feel if he loses to Shawn Michaels, who didn't even have the option to use the super kick. He mentioned how Orton tried to end his career and all he needs is the memory of the tears in his wife's eyes and the memory of his kids wondering whether he's going to work again. All he needs is the thought of Orton trying to end his livelihood. Once Orton finally responded, he asked Michaels to tell his family to expect the same feelings after Survivor Series. HBK teased the super kick and then he shoved McMahon before Orton delivered a cheap shot. McMahon prevented Orton from continuing his assault and decided, you know what, let's hit an RKO on him. About their match at Survivor Series, awesome. It was one of Shawn Michaels' best matches in his career, and no, I don't think that's a stretch. The fact that he didn't use his finisher in the match is amazing to me, because when you think of Shawn Michaels, you think of the super kick, and the fact that he didn't even use it in this match is amazing to me. He used many submission holds, sharpshooter, ankle lock, and the crossface. He out-wrestled Orton and he brought us a different kind of match. Orton, meanwhile, tried to not get himself disqualified, and that ending, man, like, who could forget that ending? One of the best. Orton tried going for the RKO, HBK evaded it, and he contemplated the sweet chin music. The ref warned him, hey, you can't do that, and Orton, the opportunist, connected with the RKO to retain the title. Michaels feigned the kick, ref pointed it out, and Orton caught him off guard. As Orton was rubbing the victory in HBK's face, he decided to give him a sweet chin music. Orton's reaction was like, oh no, not again. On the November 19, 2007 episode of Raw, a marathon runner was running from Miami to Fort Lauderdale carrying a torch. It was symbolic as Orton claimed that the torch was passed to him. HBK was then granted a rematch, and from there he moved on to a feud with Mr. Kennedy. At the end of the night, Randy Orton once again came out, because he gave us updates on the torch runner throughout the night, and once he entered the ring, he mentioned every superstar and legend he went through in his path to the title. He said that he's beaten all that there is to beat, and he said that it's time for the torch to be passed to himself. We found the runner approaching the arena when a certain someone clotheslined him. Orton was caught off guard and Y2J chants intensified. The code was then broken and out came Y2J Chris Jericho. For me, this moment alone saved 2007. Yeah, sure, there was Batista and The Undertaker, but it felt dark. When Jericho came, it felt like a different year. It felt like 2008 started before it did. Jericho was finally back. Orton went through Triple H, HBK, and now there was no one else for him to face, but there was Jericho now. Unfortunately, though, as good as the pop he got, many in the crowd weren't familiar with him. Those 2 years felt like 5. Yeah, some fans were kids and all that, and they weren't familiar with him. But hey, at least he got a good pop, and finally, Chris Jericho was back. Orton didn't like this one bit, and he asked Y2J the $1 million question. What exactly are you saving us from? To which Jericho responded, and these are his words, well, your boring personality for one. You want me to continue? How about saving us from that face of yours that looked like you got flattened by a frying pan? Or your monotonous, robotic Randy Orton voice? But most importantly, Randy, I'm here to save us from you. because the first chance I get, I'm going to take that WWE Championship from you, and I'm going to put it around this gorgeous waist. And when I do, Monday Night Raw, the WWE, sports entertainment, the state of Florida, the country of the United States, the Western Hemisphere, the planet Earth, the heavens above, the galaxies, the Crown Nebula, the universe itself will never, the fans were chanting ever, and he had them in the palm of his hands, never, ever be the same again. I loved it. The crowd were really into it. Who knows, maybe the kids that didn't know him appreciated who Y2J was now, and they were big fans of him. Who knows? One of my favorite returns ever. On the December 3rd episode of Raw, both men stood face to face in the middle of the ring. By the way, before I mention this, who remembers Me Want title match? That was a pretty entertaining segment. It brought us that Santino and Jericho thing. It was good. Now, Orton had accepted Y2J's challenge after Raw the previous week. He claimed that he'd given Jericho a title shot because he knows he could beat him. He mentioned the guys he beat, to which Jericho mentioned that today, December 3rd, that means nothing. Jericho said that Orton is cunning, cold-blooded, egotistical, remorseless, devious, violent, vicious, and he's also those things too. And at Armageddon, he's taking the title from Orton. There ain't anything funny in that. Orton said that he doesn't like Jericho one bit, and if he wanted to, he'll wipe the smirk off of his face. The Raw general manager William Regal came out and he made both men choose each other's opponents. Orton made Jericho face Umaga, while Jericho made Orton face Shawn Michaels. Both men managed to win their matches by DQ and countout. Orton interfered in Jericho's match, while Orton himself won by countout due to Kennedy interfering. Orton bragged about himself when Y2J sprinted down the ramp and into the ring. Jericho dished out an ass-kicking, and he returned the favor. He nearly locked Orton in the walls, but Orton escaped. On the final Raw before Armageddon, the 15th anniversary episode, Chris Jericho made Randy Orton tap out to the walls, showing us a preview of Sunday. Now, the match at Armageddon was good. It wasn't a standout match or anything like that. Could have been better, yeah, sure, but for Jericho's first pay-per-view match, awesome. He was protected as he didn't really lose. He was on the brink of victory, but the most random thing happened. JBL, the SmackDown commentator, kicked him in the head to cause the DQ. He was on commentary at this point, and here JR mentioned his name is weird. Like, JBL cost Chris Jericho the match. Yeah, that's weird. Obviously, you guys know why JBL returned. I don't need to mention it. After this matchup, Randy Orton shifted his focus to his Royal Rumble opponent, Jeff Hardy. He managed to get into Jeff's head by kicking Matt Hardy where his appendix used to be. He then punted him in the head right afterwards. On this incident, Hardy sent Orton a message. He said that he's not only going to take Orton's title, he's going to take Orton out. Later that night, Jeff Hardy faced Umaga in a steel cage match. He managed to overcome the odds by hitting a brutal whisper in the wind from the top of the cage to win. Orton couldn't believe this, and things would only get crazier the following week. Jeff Hardy was set to defend the Intercontinental Championship against Randy Orton, but Orton during the match made it clear that he wasn't interested in holding the IC title. Right when the bell rang, Orton went straight for a low blow. Obviously, it was a DQ, and right after this, Orton shouted that the show is not over. He continued his assaults on the charismatic Enigma, but Jeff brought the fight to the Viper. Orton, though, gained the upper hand, and he was looking to punt Hardy right off the stage. Jeff managed to evade the punt, and he backdropped Orton off the stage. Jeff then hit a wicked swanton off the top of a Raw set. Watching this brings back memories. The fact that it's in HD now is crazy. On the first HD episode of Raw, you could check out my video on it, Mr. McMahon forced both men to go out to the ring and shake hands. That never came to fruition, and instead Jeff Hardy hit a twist of fate on Randy Orton to end Raw. Now, about the match at the Rumble, fun. It wasn't special, but for what it was enjoyable. It felt like Hardy was gonna win the title, and MSG was on his side. Everyone wanted to see him as champ, but it wasn't his night as Orton hit the most sudden RKO ever. He countered the twist of fate, and it smoothly transitioned into an RKO. One of the best RKOs ever. The next night on Raw, a ghost from Orton's past emerged. It was John Cena. He won the Royal Rumble the previous night to punch his ticket to the main event of WrestleMania 24. Except that wasn't gonna happen. Why? Well, Cena wanted to invoke his rematch clause for tonight. The crowd was eating it up, but when Orton came out, he refused to accept the challenge. This is what he had to say. Here's the thing, John Cena. Ever since I've put you on the shelf, I've become a very, very big deal. A bigger deal than you have ever been. Which is why I will never defend this championship title unless these people open their wallets and pay to see it. Which means, John Cena, that I will not be facing you tonight. But since you can't wait till WrestleMania, and since I think you're a hothead who's not fully recovered from your injury, you're on. At the next pay-per-view, No Way Out. Unless John Cena, you want to wait till WrestleMania. Cena accepted the challenge and the match was on. At the end of the night, Cena sent Orton a message by FUing him. In the weeks leading to No Way Out, Orton tried to wear down Cena and use the medically repaired pectoral muscle as an advantage. On the February 4th episode of Raw, both men were set to sign the contract for the match. They both signed it, and Mark Henry suddenly ran down to the ring. Orton capitalized on the distracted Cena by hitting the RKO. At the end of the night, Cena and Henry were set to partake in an arm wrestling contest. During the contest, Mark Henry made 100 excuses. He even took a cheap shot at the Royal Rumble winner by hitting his medically repaired pectoral muscle. Cena was on the verge of winning when Orton interfered. He then ran away and Cena FU'd Henry. About their match in No Way Out, it was weak. It was just there, and it didn't match their SummerSlam encounter, but hey, at least it was better than the Unforgiven one. Most memorable part of this match, and the best part, was when Cena beat the 10 count. Orton was shocked at this, so what did he decide to do, seeing as he can't beat John Cena? That's what he believes. He decided to slap the hell out of the referee to cause the DQ, and the look on his face says it all. I found a way. He's smiling and all that, and Cena kicked his ass after the match, but it didn't mean nothing as his WrestleMania title shot was gone. He wasted this damn thing for No Way Out. You could have saved it for the biggest night of the year, but you decided, no way out. Like Orton said, Cena was a hothead. At the end of that night, Triple H won the Raw Elimination Chamber to face Randy Orton for the title at WrestleMania. Obviously, Cena got involved seeing as he won by disqualification. William Regal then came out and he sorted this mess out. He announced that if Cena wins his match against Orton later that night, then it goes on to WrestleMania, making it a triple threat match. But Triple H was set to officiate this one. Despite the tension between Cena and Triple H, the game counted Orton's shoulders down 1, 2, 3 to add John Cena to the main event, making it a triple threat matchup. Triple H, however, congratulated John Cena by hitting a pedigree to assert his dominance. Following this, William Regal set up a photo shoot for the three competitors. He also allowed the three men to speak. Cena told Triple H that he should be man enough to say something to his face. He then thanked them for not disqualifying him the previous week, but he said that he didn't appreciate the pedigree he received right afterwards. Triple H said that the fans appreciated the pedigree, and at WrestleMania, Cena's gonna get the same thing. John gave Triple H a refresher to WrestleMania 22, all while Randy Orton stood there like the third wheel. He told them that they could talk all the trash that they want, but the one thing that's going to remain the same is still the WWE Champion, Randy Orton. It then took a catchphrase from Cena's book, proclaiming, "The champ is here." Both men then threw Orton out of the ring and they brawled. The champ, however, returned and he hit 2 RKOs on both men to stand tall in the middle of the ring. He stood tall the following week, but then Triple H would put a wrench into both Cena and Orton's momentum by booking them in a tag team match against the entire Raw roster. Enemies become partners. Now, about this match, some say this was a burial of the Raw roster. What do you think? I mean, most of them were lower card jobbers, and I always thought the main event guys were way above the lower card guys. But maybe it was a burial. What do you think? It was a unique one, and I was definitely entertained by it. One thing to take away from this match is the fact that we haven't gotten to see a 2-man power trip with Cena and Orton. Obviously, they didn't eliminate everyone as that would be ridiculous. The match was a mess. They had momentum during the time, but it ended in a DQ. It was in chaos, and right afterwards, Triple H came out and he delivered a pedigree to both men to end Raw on top. At WrestleMania, these three had an action-packed 14-minute match. First of all, the promo for the match was top-notch. It showed Cena and Triple H's absences from the ring, and overall it made you feel excited for what was to come at WrestleMania. The spots were pretty memorable. The moment Orton blasted Triple H with a title in the beginning, the Tower of Doom, the double DDT, the moment Cena locked Orton in the STFU and Triple H from out of nowhere locked him in the crossface, and the best moment was when Triple H hit the pedigree on Cena right when he went for the cover. Randy Orton from out of nowhere punts him, and he covers Cena himself for the victory. At the time as a kid, I thought there was no way in hell Orton's leaving with the title. It felt like the other guys' night, but that wasn't to be, and this was definitely the most important victory for Orton. Following WrestleMania, Orton continued to feud with both men, and even JBL got involved. So a match was made for Backlash. Randy Orton versus Triple H versus John Cena versus JBL in a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Championship. Personally, I liked this match a bit, but once Cena and JBL were eliminated, it dragged. I feel like this match could have been better had Triple H and Orton not fought one-on-one for a long time. It dragged and dragged and dragged, and by the way, the ending was the best part. Orton had an RKO, but he couldn't cover Triple H in time. He then decided to go for the punt. Triple H evaded it, and he tried going for the pedigree, but Orton countered and tried going for the RKO. Once Orton turned around, he was on the receiving end of a Triple H pedigree, and that's the end of his title reign. I would have continued this video to One Night Stand, but it's better to save that for a Triple H title reign video. What do you think? Should we continue with Triple H? Should we make a Triple H title reign video? I thought it was decent, bar Great Khali and Vladimir Kozlov matches. Other than those two, it was a good-ass title reign, and I felt like this was Triple H's best year since 2002 or 2001. In ring, by the way. And that's it for this video. The difference between Orton before the title and after is huge. Like, he felt like a star that was on the same level as Triple H and John Cena by the end of it. And overall, he went through Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Jeff Hardy, John Cena, Triple H once again, before losing to Triple H. All in all, it was a very entertaining title reign, and I am very glad to cover it on this channel. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit an RKO on the like button, and perhaps a punt on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.